Good evening and welcome to the San Bruno City Council special meeting of March the 28th, 2023. The meeting has been called to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Alvarez,
Here.
Councilmember Marty Medina,
Here.
Councilmember Salazar,
Here.
Vice Mayor Hamilton,
Here.
Mayor Rico Medina.
Here. Thank you. Item 3, public comments for items not on the agenda. If there are any public members that wish to speak on items that are not on the agenda. In addition, we do and will be going into closed session, which we do have an item that I also want to bring up in case there are any members of the public that wish to speak, and that is closed session item A, conference with real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8, and the agency negotiators, the city manager, and the negotiating parties are the City of San Bruno and Costa, Gail Trust. In addition to that, closed session and anything that's not on the agenda.
No, I do not have any speaker cards and no remote hands are raised.
Thank you very much. With that, the City Council will go ahead and go into closed session, anticipated at about 30 minutes, which then we will return back here for the conduct of business that we have on the next item after closed session. This time, we will go to closed session. Good evening again. We are back from closed session, and now we will move on to conduct of business.
Item 5A, consider adoption of a resolution to authorize the city manager to negotiate and enter into an agreement with OpenGov for procurement software, along with related business process and implementation services and support services for a total amount not to exceed $100,000.
All right, and thank you for that, and I'll turn it over to the city manager for an intro, please.
Thank you, Mayor Medina, council, and members of the public. Javon Grogan, city manager. As you will recall, we brought an item before the city council a few weeks ago to enter into a contract with OpenGov for a procurement/purchasing software. There were additional questions. We are here to provide a presentation. We have two people before you today. One is Jeffrey Gershnak, a part-time employee with the city of San Bruno, helping us out with a few IT project implementations. Mr. Gershnak worked over 25 years with the state of California and has a wealth of experience. And then our interim finance director, Bobby McGee.
Thank you for your time, members of council, honorable mayor. As Javon pointed out, there were some questions that came up in your last meeting with regard to the Enterprise Resource Program upgrade and how that OpenGov procurement related to that particular project. So tonight, I'm going to give you a little background on an ERP, and for those who are familiar with this, please bear with me. But I did want to frame this in the context of how OpenGov relates to the larger project of the ERP upgrade. So to start, and to give some context on how OpenGov relates to the larger enterprise upgrade for Tyler Munis, what exactly is enterprise resource programming software? How do government agencies and other organizations use it? And why would organizations purchase additional software beyond the ERP to meet some of their needs? So enterprise resource program software is basically business management software. It allows an organization to track, save, view information as it relates to their business processes. And that ERP has a global view of an organization. And it contains the general ledger, which is basically the financial heart of an organization. The various modules and core connect so that data can be exchanged across those different modules. It makes the business processes within the city go faster because there's a single point of entry and the data can be shared across those different modules. And it reduces the possibility of errors because you're entering information once and that information is able to be shared across those different modules. And it'll all end up being recorded in the general ledger for financial. So without some type of software, like enterprise resource planning software, organizations would have to purchase individual pieces of software and integrate all of those pieces of software together. By using that single core enterprise resource planning software, training needs are reduced because users are used to entering one system to update their particular modules. And it has a global view of all of those disparate modules across the city and has a single financial set of data for the organization. So where are we now? Tyler Eden is 20 years old. It requires a lot of care and maintenance by the information technology department. It runs on servers that have to be updated. The software itself has to be patched. It's older software. Tyler actually purchased the Eden product from another company back in 2003. It's not going to meet the city's needs going forward. Most importantly, Tyler's going to sunset support for the Eden product in 2027. And Tyler Technologies has specific scheduling and slots that are available to do those upgrades. So that's why we want to make certain to get in line and make certain this project moves forward. As you can see, it has a bit of a Windows 95 aspect to it. So, and training staff on it is difficult. People are used to modern interfaces. It does serve our needs, but it definitely can be updated. So going back to what an ERP is I talked about that core, right, which is the users that are contained in there and what those users are allowed to access within the ERP as a total, right? So you can see around on that ring there are various different modules. That center part is the core users, and a certain user could be able to access accounts receivable, another user would be able to access the human resources, another person would be able to access the budgeting module. Why that's important is that the general ledger keeps track of all of the city's financial expenditures. It has accounts that represent all of our budget line items, and that becomes the single source of truth for financial data as it relates to the city, right? So human resources module contains information about those employees. Having these modules together in an ERP means that data can be shared across those modules. So for example, right, if going into that human resources module, right, the employee is allocated to a particular budget and to a particular division, right? They're able to enter the hours that they worked for the city in that human resources payroll module. That payroll module will talk to the general ledger. The general ledger will then be updated with all of the correct information in the budget and it'll be deducted. So do we really have any alternative? We do. So you can use the base functionality that's contained within the ERP, right? Or you could purchase individual programs and try and integrate all of those programs together so that there's an ability to share those databases. Or you can use a core ERP and then supplement that software with specialized software that meets needs that are not going to be met to the best of the organization's needs in that core ERP software. So Tyler Munis, which you've authorized at your last meeting, is an excellent example of an enterprise resource planning software. It's used by over 4,500 cities across the United States and counties, special districts. It's compliant with government accounting regulations and generally accepted accounting principles. But although Tyler Munis is the program that's going to meet the majority of the needs with the software models that it contains, staff believes that integrating additional software, in this case OpenGov Procurement, will provide the city with additional features and functionality that will enhance city operations, and they're worth that additional investment. So as you can see, that great Windows 95 screen is gone, and to sum up, Munis is a modern web-based solution that authorized employees can access from any location, from any type of device, and it's going to be continually updated with the city's needs. Tyler's technology's intimate familiarity with the Eden system will make the migration from Eden to Munis very straightforward. But supplementing the Tyler Munis ERP software with specialized software to provide us additional functionality as it relates to procurement and purchasing, in this case OpenGov Procurement, will provide additional benefits to the city. So at this point, I will let our interim finance director speak to the advantages of OpenGov Procurement.
Yes, thank you, and let me echo. Good evening, Mayor Medina and members of the council. And so this is representative of the various modules again, and what we're talking about here is where does OpenGov fit into the overall ERP upgrade? And so you'll see the procurement module blinking down there into purchasing, and OpenGov is a supplemental product on top of what Tyler does. And so we like what the Tyler module does, but there's a number of things that I'd like to walk you through tonight that are value adds to the overall purchasing module. And so this is some of the things that we are considering that we'd like for the council to see tonight, such as solicitation development. There's some, and I'll walk you through how these modules work. But this assists staff with some intelligent logic built into the program, which allows for very professional bid documents, request for proposal documents, and request for qualifications documents to be easily produced in a decentralized purchasing environment such as what the city employs. There's greater supplier engagement. There's an ability to reach more potential vendors out there. There are evaluations and awards within the system, so staff can evaluate the various proposals that are received back. As part of that evaluation process, OpenGov Procurement actually has a vendor report card, essentially what it is. And so other agencies that have done business with any particular vendor have the ability to enter in data and their perspective on how well they performed against the contract that they awarded, and we would have access to that type of data. In addition, it integrates with the federal SAM.gov website, so we can see if any vendor is on the suspended or disbarred list. And then it has a contract management module, which I'll walk you through here at the end. So OpenGov is very specific to governments and in the cloud. And as Jeff mentioned, there's some benefits to doing cloud only, and we think that there's some benefits in going with an agency that is specific to government needs and understands the needs of municipal purchasing. So this slide here is one of OpenGov marketing slides where what they see is the value add for their product above and beyond what the Munis product does. And so we were looking at this and we kind of created this slide of the pluses that we really see are the most important value adds in this particular software. And so for me, I think the most important thing is the guided solicitation development. And I'll walk you through how that works in just a minute. But again, in a decentralized environment where you have a lot of project managers and engineers and those types of people who are not specific purchasing people, it assists with putting together a very professional product at the end. It contains workgroup collaboration, and so within the system, as you're building your solicitation document, gone are the days of worrying about version control and who has the most current version and are we emailing it to each other, because multiple people can work on the product live and you know that you're working on the most current version at any given time. And once that is completed, there's a process for review and approval workflows within the system. On the vendor side, there's a vendor self-service portal. It's very simple for vendors to log in. The feedback I've seen in other agencies that vendors really like the OpenGov product because it's very easy to navigate for them. There is a guided vendor response process. I'll walk you through that briefly here in just a moment. And we think that that's important because when somebody takes the time to put together a response to a request for proposals, the last thing we want to do is to find them non-responsive. We want to make sure that they've included everything that the city has asked for because we want to be able to consider their proposal. It also has DocuSign integration, which this city uses, and a nationwide network of over 100,000 suppliers. So if a prime contractor were to wish to bid on a contract and they needed some subcontractors, there's an available network that they can just look up and find other potential subcontractors that may be able to provide services to them, which we believe ultimately would assist in lowering overall prices to the city. There's the ability for integration with contract renewal and expiration reminders, and then also to upload our contract document templates so that staff can easily put together templates for the legal team, which in theory would reduce the amount of time that the legal team would need to review any given particular contract. And so the guided solicitation document takes staff through all the way through from the intro process through the evaluation, and it does that by asking a number of questions that staff would be able to answer that points the end user into the correct solicitation method. So for example, if you were to have a public works project, you would be required to do a bid process as opposed to a request for a proposal process. And so by answering these questions, it leads you to what the correct process would be. And on the vendor side, it's very easy for the vendors to sign up. They literally just have to enter an email and that's it. And one of the things that I've heard from vendors is that the reason they like the OpenGov product is because once they sign up with the OpenGov product, they don't have to create a new profile for every single city that is using the OpenGov system. They can literally just go on and click, I'm interested in providing services to the city of San Bruno also, and then their existing profile is automatically transferred over and they receive automatic notifications that we have an opportunity to bid on. And so it also has the guided vendor response process, as I mentioned, and it walks the vendors specifically through each one of the steps, assisting them to make sure that their response to a request for proposals, a bid, whatever, is responsive, because we definitely want to keep everyone in the process that has an interest if they are qualified to provide the city with that good or service. And so, as I mentioned, right now we really aren't doing these types of activities. These are all value adds onto the Tyler existing product. And this here is an integration with Microsoft, which would provide for contract renewal and expiration notices within the system. And so as you approach the end of a contract, you would be able to receive an automatic notification within the system that you either need to renew the contract or potentially start a new bid process. And so to sum up, we believe this will help staff with creating highly effective solicitations, and it will definitely lower prices to the city overall by having more professional presentations that we're sending out to the vendor community and by reaching out to more vendors. This product contains a database of solicitations and similar scopes of work that other municipalities have used, and so we would spend less time in developing a scope of work. It provides a network of professionals that are available to the city. That is both on the OpenGov side. They have professional consultants that are available to the city to assist with these types of things. That is part of their base contract and with the city. And then there's also other people that are on OpenGov currently that we would be able to reach out to and ask the types of pitfalls that they saw when they ran their solicitation for a similar good or service. And ultimately, it helps identify best value to the city. OpenGov procurement is a value-added proposition on top of what the Tyler product does. The total cost the first year is $100,000, is in your staff report. That is $35,000 for implementation and approximately $65,000 annually thereafter. And just by way of contrast, in fiscal year 21-22, the city issued approximately $45 million in total accounts payable checks. And so as you can see, we have a sizable spend on all kinds of goods and services, and that's very routine. And we definitely believe that this product is going to help lower the overall prices on any given one of these things by implementing this type of process. The implementation process itself with OpenGov will help refine purchasing processes. And so as the council's aware, last year the council approved the addition of a procurement officer for the city, and that person has started doing an evaluation and started a process in which he will be identifying best practices and ways to modernize the city's purchasing practices. And this is a very appropriate time to bring on the software as well, so that as he moves the processes forward, he would be able to automate that process as well. So OpenGov can be implemented immediately, and that is what we are recommending. This as soon as we sign the contract, we can start working with this product. It will integrate nicely with Tyler Eden and later on with Tyler Munis. And the city's procurement officer will be the administrator for that. And we think that through the process of upgrading the overall ERP system, he'll have the opportunity to fine-tune as we move from Eden to Tyler Munis and really dial this system in. So it allows the city to develop both processes and systems simultaneously. And at the last meeting, one of the questions was, is there other people that are using this particular combination? So I reached out to OpenGov, and they told us that there are currently 28 municipalities that are specifically using the combination of Tyler Munis with an OpenGov layer on top of it, an OpenGov procurement layer on top of it. So this is a list of those groups right there. And they shared with me that there are a number of agencies that are currently in the process of doing that, and they are expecting that there will be several more because there's a lot of Eden and OpenGov people who are not on this list that will be upgrading, anticipated to be upgrading to Tyler Munis. And so we're expecting to see that list grow. And so the recommendation, again, is to consider adoption of a resolution to authorize the city manager to negotiate the contract with OpenGov for the procurement software in an amount not to exceed $100,000. And with that, Jeff and I are here and happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Thank you very much for the information and the report from both of you. Are there any questions on the presentation from colleagues at this time? Councilmember Medina.
Yes, thank you. Your presentation covered a lot of the questions that I had regarding the yearly price and how that all works, how quickly it could be implemented. So this is a standalone system that can be put into use pretty much almost immediate?
Almost immediately, that is correct, sir.
All right, so one of the questions I have is, or my primary question is, so the product that we're looking for with Tyler has this procurement module. Because we're using OpenGov, is there a discount like for between the two? Like, so we don't need that module, so therefore we don't have to pay as much? Is there something like that?
This is a standalone product, so I'm not really sure how to answer that question. But what I will say is that this is all value adds on top of what the Tyler system does. So obviously, two totally separate companies, and so there's not a discount for providing one company to the other.
Because we're not going to use the procurement side of Tyler then. That's kind of like.
Sure. Yeah. You want to take that one?
Yeah, so Councilmember Medina. So there's, you kind of need to think about it as two functions, right? There's a procurement process, right, which is what's going to happen inside of OpenGov, where we've got this vendor engagement, we've got staff that are going to be able to have expert tools that are going to help them develop those solicitations, all of those other good things that Bobby has spoken about. And then there is the purchasing side of the process where a purchase order is generated, and that purchase order needs to be encumbered against the general ledger, and then that the vendor has to be entered into our system that they're a valid vendor, right? That's going to happen inside Tyler Munis, and as it happens currently within Tyler Eden. So we need to implement that part of Tyler Munis.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Seeing no other questions at this time from colleagues, let's see if there's any members of the public that wish to speak on this item.
I do not see any in-person speakers, and I do not have any hands raised remote.
Thank you very much. With that, it'll come back to council for further discussion, deliberation, and/or action. If there is action, this is a resolution. Vice Mayor.
If there's no other discussion, I'd like to introduce the resolution as read by the city clerk.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion Hamilton, seconded Marty Medina. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Marty Medina?
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hamilton?
Aye.
Mayor Rico Medina?
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much for your time and presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. With that will conclude the last conduct of business for this item. So we will adjourn to the next regular city council meeting, which will be held on March 28th, 7:30 at 7 p.m. So stand by. Don't go anywhere. We're about to start the part 2. With that, we'll adjourn this part of the meeting.